Christian has agreed to say a few words on behalf of the group.
How's everyone doing? Okay. I'm going to take a moment to read my story and tell you guys a little bit about what camp did for me. And here I go. My name is Christian Keller. I'm from Dayton, Ohio, and I'm an L5 graduate from the Tim Hortons Children's Foundation. As a kid, I grew up in a family of 8 children, and I was 4th in line behind my twin brother, Darian. When I was young, we had a tragedy in our family. My biological father passed away. Luckily for me, my mother found a man who took her and her 4 children at the time under his care as if we were his own. I was never sheltered by the fact that my biological father had passed away. If we had questions, my mom was open to answer them. At a young age, I didn't really understand it too much. I didn't fully understand what death was. As I grew older and came to a better understanding of what death was, I began to have more questions. I wanted to know what happened to my father. I later found out that my father was addicted to drugs and alcohol. It later led him to depression, and he made a personal decision to end his own life. I grew angry in my heart. I didn't understand why a man with 4 kids would do something like that. Junior high was the roughest years for me. I was old enough to understand what death was, though I still had questions such as, could he still be alive? And did he want to have a relationship with me? Those questions were more or less fantasies in my head. The truth was I was in denial. I chose not to believe it for my own sake. Eventually that changed, and I was forced to grow up and realize that he wasn't going to be there to see me grow up. During my 7th grade school year, I received an application to attend a summer camp. I had no idea what it was or who would be there. I was so excited, but at the same time, very nervous. Lucky for me, my twin brother had also been invited, so I knew I wasn't going to do this alone. Camp in Kentucky was so much fun. We had the chance to try many new activities. For example, canoeing, hiking, and rock wall climbing. I never had the chance to do these things as a young kid, so it meant so much to me to be able to experience these activities. The 10 days came and went so fast. It was so upsetting at first, and then I realized I could take some of these things home with me. When I got home from camp, I begged my mom to do things such as the Zamboni after dinner. My spark lasted for a little while, but it soon faded. It eventually went back to the same old ways. I was constantly fighting with my siblings and giving an attitude. I had not been showing any of the skills I learned from camp at home. As my 8th grade year passed, I received another letter in the mail. I had been invited back to camp, except this year there was a cover letter explaining what the camp was about. I'd be attending a youth leadership program. I began to get excited, and memories from the previous year flooded my mind. The time crept, but slowly, but eventually came. My brother and I packed our luggage, and off to camp we went. As we showed up to camp at Onondaga Farms, I grew so nervous. I saw a few familiar faces, but not very many. A pit grew in my stomach. Questions flooded my head about how I was going to fit in at this camp. As I exited the bus, I realized that the counselors acted the same exact way as my residential counselors did. Though the setup was similar, the shape of the camp was completely different. Right away, we jumped into team building skills. That taught me so much about myself. I then realized that I was not much of a team player. My counselors explained to me that activities we were doing were not individual activities, but rather group activities. As camp went on, I experienced my first taste of canoe tripping. That's when I realized I could not do things on my own. We had to do many activities that took group efforts, such as canoeing, setting up campsite, and cooking our own meals. I learned a lot that year. The leadership program taught me many valuable lessons. The most important, being a good leader means being a good follower. I enjoyed camp so much and look forward to coming back the next year. My Leadership 2 experience reminded me a lot of my Leadership 1 year. I had a ton of fun and once again look forward to coming back. After Leadership 2, my family received news that my uncle had passed away. It was an extremely difficult time for my family. I tried so hard to apply the things I learned from camp to the death of this family member. I became optimistic and realized that everything happens for a reason. My brother and I coped with it together and stayed strong. After all, We were the only chance to live out the family name. Later that year, we had gotten notice that we were going back to camp once again. To our surprise, upon arrival at camp that year, we had been split up into different cabin groups. It was a struggle because we had never been away from each other, and this year we would be split up for 6 days. That year I was forced to learn how to work with people I didn't usually work with. I learned to become a team player to kids who were not nearly as strong or big. This helped me endure patience. As my L4 year approached me, I was ready to take on the challenge of a 7-day canoe trip, the most difficult so far. I was once again grouped with my brother. We learned to work apart from each other as much as we possibly could. The greatest accomplishment that year was Silver Peak. It was a struggle, but with teamwork we made it. We learned more skills than imaginable that year. We challenged ourselves beyond our breaking points. We had our ups and downs, but it was a successful year. When I got home, I was introduced to some devastating news. My grandfather was sick and it wasn't looking too good. He passed away later that November. I wondered why it was my family fading so fast. As I began to look back on the skills I learned from camp, I overcame the pain that was overtaking my life. I believe that these deaths in my family played a role in my brother and I's relationship. We grew so close and became best friends. We were the only 2 boys left with the Keller last name, and we began to bond like never before. Our senior year was coming to an end. As we began to look into post-high school education, the both of us took completely different paths. I decided to go into the family plumbing business and one day take over. My brother decided to join the military as an army. He decided to join the army as a military police officer. Our L5 camp letters came in the mail, and sadly enough, Darian had to decline the invite due to his choice of career in the military. I decided to finish up camp, and I had such a great time. I went through a lot in my life, but the most difficult would have to be leaving my brother. The longest time I had ever been separated from him was the 6-day canoe trip my L3 year. I knew this was going to be a struggle. I want to take this time to personally thank the foundation for making my relationship with my brother so strong and one that will never fade. Although I feel I've lost a brother and a best friend, I know in my heart I've gained a hero. I appreciate the time and effort this foundation takes to focus on young people like me and my brother. I've learned to appreciate so much more, and I'm blessed to have been given the chance to attend such a wonderful foundation. You guys have truly changed my life. I will now pursue my career in the family business using the skills that camp taught me and one day become a successful business owner. So again, on behalf of me, my brother Darian, and the other 18 L5 graduates standing here beside me today, we thank you all.
So much, Christian. One of the things that we've often heard said is, what kind of future will we be leaving for our kids? Right? What kind of future are we leaving for our kids? Here in America, there's an election going on. People are talking about that every day. If you flip that on its ear, you can say, what kind of kids will we be leaving to lead the future? And I hope you join me in being really inspired by this great group of young people and being very proud about the contribution we're making in all of our communities to set kids up to lead and succeed into our future across all of our communities. So on behalf of all of us, thank you so much.